हुसैन, हाय हुसैन,
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन। वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अला सय्यिदिना व नबिय्यिना व हबीबि क़ुलूबिना व तबीबि नुफूसिना व शफ़ीइ ज़ुनूबिना सय्यिदिना व मौलाना अबिल क़ासिम मुहम्मद। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्लि अला मुहम्मद व आलि मुहम्मद। والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الميامين المنتجبين، واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد ورد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وآله: أطعموا حبالاكم السفرجل فإنه يحسن أخلاق أولادكم. آمنا بالله، صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. So our talk is to prepare a generation supporting our beloved Imam Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah, from the cradle to the grave. So we spoke about the family establishment. We remember that a child is in between this triangle: influence of family, influence of community, madrasa, mimbar, mihrab, community activities, and the influence of the over and all larger society, school, public, media, social media, peer pressure, all this influence, they come all the way on the top. So we can make a bridge between these two, the family and the madrasa or the community establishment. Then we have a strong ceiling protection umbrella where the influences, uh, be it from the peer pressure, whatever pressure, it will not be effective. Even if it's effective, it's going to affect only on a minor level. So we discussed about the madrasa and the establishment, that Alhamdulillah, we have amazing establishment. And I'm not like trying to demean anybody or any institution. My talk is general. But there are institutions, they need to be reformed. There are Imam Bargah, they need to be reformed. There are Madaris, they need to be reformed. There are Mimbar, needs to be reformed. There are communities, they need to make the community in such that the production is the sincere and true supporters of our Imam Mahdi Ajmallah. So that is the responsibility of the community. We could talk more, but our timings are short. So today I want to talk about this component further. We spoke about the foundation, the taqwa, the sabr, and those things. But now we are going to take the stages of the pregnancy. So first of all, if you want to upbring pious generation, we said it starts from the selection of the spouse. Okay, the environment, the girl, the way the girl has been nurtured or the guy has been nurtured. Okay, the way a spouse has been nurtured, it's very important. Observing taqwa, sabr, the things we mentioned, I'm not going to repeat. So now, yes, now they got married. So now what? Okay, conceiving the child, family planning, that is also important. That plays a major role in preparation of that type of generation, supporters of our Imam Mahdi. How? First of all, there are narrations, abundant narrations about the etiquettes of having private relations with your spouse. I'm not going to go into details because this is a public channel, but all those who are interested, they can go to those private sessions or go and look into the books. They will find a lot of material, that what should they do and what should they avoid in order to bring a pious progeny while they're having their private relations. So this is one area. So what does that mean? That the youth, they ask, oh my goodness, there are so many, like, do not do this, do not do that, do not do this. So where is our freedom of having private relations? You can have your private relations as the way you want to have. as long as it does not involve family planning or bringing a progeny. So if you're just having fun and play relations, that's fine. You don't have to stick to these etiquettes. Because if you look into the narrations, these etiquettes are there. It says, if you do like this, if your child is like that, don't blame yourself. If you do like this, your child will become scholar. You do like this. So there are etiquettes which are affecting somehow based on the narration. Now, some of the narrations are weak. However, weak doesn't mean fabricated. So there is a possibility it might affect. So therefore, it is very important that when you are family planning, follow those instructions. When you are not having relations to have a progeny, just to have fun, then you can enjoy the way you want. And there are 2, 3 prohibitions you need to stick to. Other than that, enjoy. And on the other side, if you're having family planning, try to observe those indications and directions mentioned in the narrations. So that is number one, etiquettes of having private relations to produce a progeny who would support our Imam Ajjalallah. So remember this, don't forget. It's not when the child is born we start teaching them Allah and Alif Ba. No, it is the moments of conception, that when the child is conceived, when the egg is fertilized, those are the moments also. These moments needs to be spiritual and special moments. The more you think of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, can we think of Allah in that? Yeah, why not? There are recommended du'as when a person is having private relation. There are recommended du'as. Dhikr of Allah should be there 24/7. Your mind should not be empty from dhikr of Allah and presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, the feeling of Allah being there every time. That is sufficient, that Allah is with you. And the point that you are doing halal relation, you are keeping Allah in your mind. So the presence of Allah in your mind, the presence of this environment, yet having entertainment and enjoyment on the maximum levels, that's fine. So that is number one. When the child is conceived, then what? Then the mother, number one, whatever she hears, the child hears. Whatever she speaks, the child shares. Whatever she looks, the child shares. That means her nervous system is somehow connected to the nervous system of the child spiritually. Okay? There is a spiritual connection between the child and the mother. There's a bond. Yes, there is a placenta cord. That's a physical thing. We are not talking about the physical thing. That's why I'm going to talk later. However, I'm just talking in general. First of all, there is an emotional, spiritual bond. So whatever you do, oh mother, you are not alone. Your child is doing that with you. That means you are building in your child, in the mindset of your child, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, the child is sharing to some degree your things. So, for example, you're listening to the musics and songs, corrupted, immoral things, the child is also getting that. You are listening to Quran, the child is getting that. You are listening to the Nawhas of Ahlulbait AS, the child is listening to that. So that is affecting in a child in a positive or negative way. So always make sure that you are always listening to positive things and have a positive emotional state. Negative emotional states will affect. And here comes the role of the husband. Any shouting, any screaming, any problem, any disturbance to the mother is going to affect the child as well. I'm giving you the juice of whatever our scholars have written from the hadith of Ahlulbait AS. So that is number one. The child is getting what the mother is getting, what the outside environment is. Number one. Number two. So here we have the physical things. As we mentioned, there's a physical connection. So whatever halal food the mother will eat, whatever blessed food the mother will eat, water of Zamzam she will drink. Okay, this is going to go to the child. There is the placenta column. There's a connection, physical connection between the mother and the child. So whatever halal goes into the child, and the child is being built up with halal. Whatever haram burgers and Burger Kings and this king and that king and McDonald's and whatever haram things people are eating, the junk, as we say, it is going inside the system of the child. Then you bring to madrasa, you drag him to like a goat to the masjid, to the Imam Barga. He doesn't want to come. She doesn't want to come. Why? Because you build your child with haram proteins. When you eat this protein, that protein goes into the structure of the child. So when the child is built by impure protein, the child will be inclined towards impurity. So the same thing goes with the guy, okay, and the mother and the father while family planning. That's why it's recommended to fast. The Prophet ﷺ was given a direction to fast 40 days before coming to Khadija alayhi salam. So obviously Prophet ﷺ is pure, but he needs to give a direction. If you were involved in eating junk, fast for 40 days, purify yourself, because Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that fasting dissolves the impurities they pile up in your system due to the haram consumptions. So the fasting purifies your system. So when you come to your wife after that, until you get the child conceived, the pregnancy initiated, you need to make sure, because your production and your wife's production, they're all proteins. The fluid and these two things are proteins. And these proteins, they are formed from where? The meat you eat or the meat she eats, it dissolves, because half of the child is from male, half of the child is from female. So the egg and the production component which the male has, they both are part and parcel of the food you ate, the protein you ate. The protein was dissolved into polypeptide, and it breaks down and down until peptone and then protein. That protein, it goes into your bloodstream, and then it goes into your reproductive system to produce the building blocks of your child. These two, mother and father, and then they connect. So these are all formed of protein, the carbohydrates, and the stuff which you ate. So if you ate haram, then those components are made out of haram, and your child has haram nature inside it because of the haram physical quality. We Muslims, we believe haram food has both physical and metaphysical qualities, and metaphysical impurities are worse. So once you say Bismillah Wallahu Akbar, you're purifying, you're cleaning the animal. But if you don't say Bismillah Wallahu Akbar, that is not dhabiha halal, that is meat, that is dead body. And dead body in Islam is filth. And filth means it has metaphysical impurity in it. So when you eat that junk, you eat that haram meat, it goes into your reproductive system and makes the building blocks of making children with that kind of component. So halal food is very important. Don't say that, oh, we'll just, the child comes and we'll dump them to the Maulana, to the madrasa, and babysitter and kid. No, 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 no. From the beginning, you want to make a progeny supporter of our Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala, start eating halal. When you come to your wife, make sure that you have eaten halal, she has eaten halal. If you cannot fast 40 days, at least fast 3 days before you do the family planning, private relations. I hope that is clear. So that's number one, the haram food inside your body, okay, makes haram child. The child with haram protein inside The structure is all from that najis meat. The child is not najis, obviously. However, the impurity, metaphysical impurities are in that protein. Then after that, for you fast, you can purify yourself. What will you do with your child, which you made him with that haram protein? Will you dump him into the ma'i zamzam and ma'i furat and that can come get out? No, the guy is messed up. Yes, after days, the protein will change. Those proteins which are changeable, some proteins are not changeable. Like nervous system, it stays as it is. It comes in a package according to the professionals. So you cannot change the nervous system. You plant it inside your son's or your daughter's system with that haram protein. Okay, please be careful if you want that pious progeny supporters of Imam Mahdi Ajjalallahu Ta'ala. Make sure that the food you consume is halal. Now, if you don't know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow those kind of things, and you can fast also. But intentionally don't eat this haram junk food because you are creating a child who is formed with these impurities and is always going to be inclined towards impurity. You will not be able to control him. Like many of the parents, they complain. And we tell them that you guys eat junk food. And I ask them question, do you eat this Burger King? And so we want to enjoy. Yeah, then now there's no need for dragging your child because you formed that child with the McDonald's and Burger Kings and all those kind of, which is not slaughtered in Islamic way. We respect all those who are not Muslims. They eat, that's fine. But for Muslims, we have a concept that the goat must be slaughtered in Islamic way, Islamic methodology. If that is not there, then it's junk for us. It is impure. Okay, so that is conceiving the child. Father, mother, before conceiving, make sure that you eat halal food regularly. And before family planning days, that you might be expecting today, there may be conception tomorrow. These days, make sure that you are like fasting, okay, at least before starting family planning, fasting 3 days. Fasting has a unique effect on the child. If the parents are fasting parents, and when they break their fast, they do dua, and then comes the dua as well. As I mentioned, the duas, you're involving Allah in your life and family planning. So you're keeping Allah the guardian of your child since the time of conception. So these kind of things are very important. There's some scholars, there's so many stories about them. The mother would recite Quran, listen to the Quran, do the wudu and this and that. A lot of things are there. We don't have that much. We don't have that much time. So let's move on. So we gave an idea of a conception. Now, while pregnancy, okay. So that is number one. Number two, the hadith I mentioned. There's so many hadith like this. I will just give you a hadith or two to just have a gist. There's certain food, as there are junk food, you eat haram food and your child is eating with you. There are certain things that are recommended during the pregnancy, such as, let's go read a few things. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أطعموا نساءكم الحوامل اللبان. You know what's luban? Is the natural chewing gum. Okay, natural, which doesn't have sugar in it, nothing. It says natural, and that chewing gum is permissible in the state of fasting because it's just a plastic revolving around the mouth and doesn't have any taste and any extra sugar additive, something like that. So even if a person is fasting, he can have this chewing of the gum. People, they don't like it when I say this. Anyhow, but in a condition, Ayatollah Sistani says that it should not break down into pieces and swallowed, and it should not have like extra external additives in it. Okay, so So this kind of chewing gum is a piece of plastic. As long as you don't swallow it, the particles are not swallowed, it should not be a problem. But anyhow, so a pregnant woman, it's recommended to eat this kind of chewing gum. Now, this chewing gum, when you go to Arba'in Ziyarat in Iraq and Iran, in Iraq, they call it Iluch al-Basri. Basri, no, Basra, in the southern Iraq, Iluch al-Basri. Iluch means gum, chewing gum. It's sold. If you go to Kavmain on the streets, people will say Aluch al-Ma, Aluch al-Ma. They call it Aluch al-Ma, water Aluch, water chewing gum. Okay, the yellow color, creamy color. Okay, you will see a lot of places in Karbala. They sell in other different places. You will find in Iraq, hacked people selling this. People, especially Indo-Pakistani communities, they don't know how much beneficial these chewing gums are. Okay, I'm giving you a few narrations or one narration, but there are plenty narrations mentioned. So feed your pregnant woman al-luban. Luban, also they burn it like incenses, you know. It has spiritual effects as well, some metaphysical things, evil things, whatever goes away. You know, we're surrounded by good forces and evil forces, the jinns, the good jinns and bad jinns. So according to the narration, when you burn this luban, okay, like on the charcoal or the electronic before machine nowadays, they have electronic burning devices, it purifies the house as well. أطعموا نساءكم الحوامل اللبان. Feed your pregnant women اللبان فإنه يزيد في عقل الصبي. For it increases the intellectual capacity of the child, okay, of the boy. And then أطعموا that's Liban. And there are narrations mentioned for the girl as well. It has positive effects for the while mother is pregnant, she chews the gum. There are some material in the gum, they go into your bloodstream and they go into the, there are some effects, okay, positive effects. And then أطعموا حبالكم السفرجة. Habala is from hamil, from pregnant women. Feed your pregnant women safarja. Now, Liban is one. I'm going to give you only 3 or 4 examples because we don't have enough time. Number 1, Liban. Number 2, safarja. When you go to Iran, when you go to Portugal, when you go to Syria, when you go to Lebanon, these places you'll find, there might be other places, even in the United States I saw. But so these are yellow fruits. Okay, if you want to get rid of somebody, just strike him on his head and he will die. It's so hard. Okay, yellow color. It's not apple, but it has appleish iron in it. More iron. Just you cut it, it will become rusted. So much iron in it. And it's not pure, but it has purish taste. It is so hard, you see. And in Portugal and in Iran, they make jam out of it, murabba. Okay, so make sure that you eat this at least frequently, especially for pregnant women. So it says that فإنه يحسن أخلاق أولاد. Somehow, how God knows best, you need to do research on it. It causes beautification of the moral attitude of your children. Mother eats safarjal, the child is affected. The iron goes there. The iron participates in the intellectual creation of the structure of his nervous system or the areas where the iron is needed. Obviously, it will add on a wisdom or strong nervous system, wisdom. Okay, there are connections. There are some researchers, they have done the researches, and in some of the universities, they want to see this hadith. They have food specialization, food and nation. I joined this course, but I was so busy that I had to bail out. And I told the professor that we have lots of narrations about the food. She told me, just send it to me. We are so much interested in seeing that how the merits of the food were presented in a way that if they were presented, if the Prophet or Imam Sadiq alayhi salam would have said safarjal is rich with iron, it makes your child strong, structure, intellectually and physically, people would not understand what iron, what this. Okay, but now so they sometimes the narrations they give you a spiritual indication because the community won't understand the spiritual aspect. However, there are physical aspects because it's a food and it's a physical thing. It's packed with iron. That's number one. And then we have in Safarjal. I have not seen narrations as many as for Safarjal. And many of our communities, especially Indo-Pakistani communities, we are not aware about Safarjal. We are not aware about Al-Luban, chewing gum. These are very powerful, impactful, influential food on the child during the pregnancy, after the pregnancy, before the pregnancy. And in one of the narrations, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I'm telling you, Safarjal narrations are plenty. The fragrance of Safarjal is the fragrance of the Prophets, alayhi salatu wasalam, and the fragrance of Hur al-Ain, and fragrance of Fatima al-Zahra, alayhi salam. Imagine how much powerful this fruit is. And you will find in the countries of school of Ahlulbait, Lebanon, Syria, Iran, in Iraq, I have seen some, but mostly in Iran is packed. Anyhow, one more, Kulu Safarjal, eat Safarjal, plenty. I just want to skip to the dates. So many ahadith about the dates, because even in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the Maryam alayhi salatu commanded Maryam to get to shake the tree, and miraculously dates will miraculous production of date will fall, like ripe dates. So and then also we have narration about the pomegranate. So when you look into the pomegranates and Safarjal has the highest number of narrations. That means exceeds the level of tawatur, abundance narration. And then you look at the Rumman pomegranate, and then you look at the Luban, dates. So make sure that these at least four things are surrounding a woman who is carrying a child. That is something important, that we are trying to build the structure of the child inside the womb of the mother. And from here, we can see that akhlaq, intellect, spirituality, purity, beauty, the foods, they have given lots of qualities which are affecting the structure and the building up of the child. And these food, they have lots of qualities. According to the scientists, they found out lots of qualities in these specific types of foods. So here we have that food, whatever you eat, your child eats. Whatever you do, your child does inside your belly. It's very important for every mother who's pregnant to observe this. And the more you are in the state of wudu, purity of wudu, the more your state is spiritual, connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because wudu is a bond, spiritual bond between Allah and the servant. So today we spoke about the period of pregnancy. Period of pregnancy have two influences, physical, metaphysical. Physical influences, the most physical influencing, impacting is the food. Halal food, supporters of our Imam, the progeny. Haram food, they might end up into having disobedient progeny. Remember now, this is not a permanent thing. You know, our body changes the protein. So the child is upraised in a fasting period, fasting sessions, and this and that, and spirituality. It might, but as I mentioned, nervous system, the cells which come as a package in nervous system, a person is born with those and die with those. So that is a very serious issue. So that's number one. Number two, metaphysical, emotional state, anger, problem, disturbance, problem, uh, calmness, good, spirituality, fantastic, salat, wudu, dua, listening to the Quran, listening to the Noha. All these are your child shares with you. So make sure that you are in a state that your child is being prepared to support our Imam Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. And this progeny supporting the Imam alayhi salatu wasalam. We can see that in Karbala, there were kids. They were eager to support Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam Hussein. There were youngsters, there were youth, there were elderlies. Every faction of every age faction was there, wanting, desiring to support Imam Hussein, desiring to be martyred, defending Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam. And one of those is Qasim, son of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. Now I'm just going to read the text because I am very reluctant to read the Masa'ib the way they are mentioned from Masa'ib, because whatever historical text I find, I read it. And you might see that it is not that much, because there is not that much material in the historical books. The books of Dhakirin are packed, but those are not academic books. Those are kept by emotional writings and poetries translated. So I like to stick, and that's not that much material about Qasim. But whatever is there, it is very painful. Why? Because it was painful to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And whatever is painful to Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam is painful to us, even if the quantity is not that much. So Qasim alayhi salam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the night of Eve of Ashura, he was mentioning the companions, and he was mentioning that everyone among you are going to be martyred. All of them, they were blessed and pleased by this kind of glad news that they are going to go to Jannah with Imam Hussein alayhi salatu salam. For them, the death is just a bridge to cross to be in the world with Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, their beloved ones. So Imam Hussein, Qasim had not reached the age of adolescence. So when Imam Hussein was done with the companions, Qasim, son of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, comes to his uncle Hussein. Ya Am, وأنا ممن يقتل غدا. Am I from one of those who are going to be martyred? فضمه الإمام الحسين عليه السلام إلى صدره وقال كيف الموت عندك. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam embraced him and asked him this question: how do you perceive death, O Qasim? Qasim said, Ahla min al-asali. It is more sweeter than the honey. Then Imam Hussein alayhi salam said, Sataqtulu anta ba'dan tubla bala'an azima. Allahu Akbar. What is Imam saying? You will be martyred, but your martyrdom will not be simple martyrdom. You will go through severe difficulty, bala'an aziman. And you know something, Abdullah Radhi', this the 6 month the 6 month nurse baby, he is also going to be martyred. And when the day of Ashura comes, obviously Imam